number 4 from August 2021 to August 2022 of the Bloodline year. So that was year number 2. Man, I'm just going to say right off the bat, there was not a single bad year, I feel, the Bloodline. However, this had to rank just lower just because the other 3 was that much better. But man, let's talk about something. This was the very first year that the Bloodline, pretty much the full year that we got of the Bloodline being in front of an actual audience, because this started during the pandemic era. So I thought it was just fun to just finally get to see how they would react. Just some of the moments, man. Roman Reigns, when he came out there and he would always pick up his microphone and be like, "Insert name here, acknowledge me." And the fans absolutely loved it. They ate it up. I was always there raising my one for that. It was so cool. And I really loved how Roman Reigns, he said it in a very condescending way. But even though he said it in a condescending way, it was also cool to sing along with it. So it's like he made that connection with the audience, but he's doing it for himself as a heel. I thought that was great. The Usos coming out. What a fun act that was when they would always come in. Insert name here. The Bloodline is in your city. Like, these were the reasons why at my job, me and my coworkers and my manager that is a big fan of wrestling, we all always throw up the ones to acknowledge. That is our official way of the last 4 years of saying what's up to each other. We just acknowledge, throwing our hands up, because it's so fun. The merchandise, it really gave me feel. And Aaron, I know once again you were probably a teenager around the time I was a kid, but we lived through that NWO era. They were like the cool heels with the merchandise and all that stuff. So it was great. Just a fun time, I think, in terms of acts and everything, the storylines. Roman, of course, continuing over a year as the Universal Champion. And then when we get to the Usos, I believe they had faced off against, was it the New Day during this time period? And they kind of rekindled the feud with the New Day. No, actually that was I think year 1. This year was where they had faced, I think it was the Street Profits, or it was either the Mysterios. I'm forgetting which one, but they became the longest reigning or the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, I think, towards the end of this year. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, they did it by beating RK Bro, I believe, the Riddle and Orton, which was fun times there. Just so much fun stuff, I think, from a promo and a segment standpoint. Really good stuff, and I think we definitely had some bangers. The Street Profits versus the Usos. They were putting out some great matches, especially at Money in the Bank, and they had that one match with SummerSlam where Jeff Jarrett was the special guest referee. Even Jeff Jarrett, ain't he great? Getting in on the Bloodline action. That's how you know the Bloodline was hot. Everyone wanted to be a part of this story, right? And then the Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns feud during this year, I thought was absolutely fantastic, because man, it breathed new life into this feud, because for so long it was like you got Brock, who, you know, he kind of had to sit there and look really intimidating, and then you had Roman, who wasn't quite tribal chief yet. He was the big dog, fresh off the Southern Succotash era of Roman. So it was really up to Paul Heyman to keep everything together, and I don't think it made for that much exciting TV. But when we get to this one, when Roman Reigns, it was Brock Lesnar who came back at SummerSlam 2021, and Roman Reigns, he was shocked. Paul Heyman was shocked, and we're looking like, oh snap! I saw so many memes at the time talking about like, oh, it's when the ex-girlfriend comes back and she sees your new girlfriend. Like, Paul's got to make his choice. The way they did Paul Heyman, whose side is he on? That was entertaining stories. I really enjoyed it. You could tell at WrestleMania 38 in the main event, fans were hot. So they really got the Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns feud over. Let's not forget Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns Royal Rumble 2022. I remember, didn't the feud start off like, who's going to be your next opponent? And he goes ahead and knocks on the door like, you know, does the whole Shield entrance, dent, and stuff like that. Like, man, that was good stuff, and him coming out playing the mind games and everything. And one of the things I want to say about that match at Royal Rumble 2022, to me, that really helped establish what would become the World Heavyweight Champion, getting credibility, because Seth Rollins was that one guy Roman Reigns just could not beat. He got himself disqualified. So putting the title on Seth Rollins, a guy who could be like, yeah, the current champ couldn't beat me, I think really helped establish that championship and all the work that Seth would go on to put into there. So, I mean, I thought that was just fantastic stuff. So the acts and a couple of matches were good. Unfortunately, though, I think the reason why I had to rank this match the lowest, or rank this this whole year the lowest, though, is because I think the matches, for some of the big key matches, they came up short. So, let's go through this. Extreme Rules 2021, Roman Reigns versus the Demon Finn Balor. On paper, man, it's simple, right? The Demon's never been defeated. You're trying to establish Roman as a champion because, like I said, this was the first full year, so it made sense to keep that title on Roman Reigns. It made sense to try to build him up because we want to see how does he do in a full year with the audience. So all they had to do was have him beat him, spear, 1, 2, 3. But of course, you know, as per usual, sometimes with the later Vince McMahon era booking, it can't be that simple. And we get the ring apron falling right when the Demon had the match won. He flops face and flops right on his face, and then behind the scenes footage or fan cam footage surfaced that a worker had cut into the ropes, and like, really, just a spear would have done. That's all you had to do. I don't know what's going on with that one. We got the Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar 5 match, and despite a good story, it was short, and it was just Superman punch, spear, F5, Usos interfere, and it was done. I'm like, okay, well, I guess at least Roman won. I would have preferred if he went clean. I thought they would have saved that match. The fall of 2021. Oh boy. This is that era, that part of the fall where they had Roman Reigns feuding with Xavier Woods over who would bend the knee. So next week would be, would Xavier bend the knee? The next week, would Roman bend the knee? And I think it was at this point, I may have been on the review, and I think I may have been telling you in virtue at the time, look at how Roman Reigns and Charlotte Flair booked, because you know those are the two people that Vince McMahon wants to push. And however they put these storylines, if they don't have any good ideas for this, then that shows you what state we're in terms of the creative. And that thing they were doing, like, didn't really do it for me. But I did think the way Roman lost the match via disqualification, and he laid out Xavier Woods and he put the crown on, he took the knee anyway. He took what could have been an embarrassing moment and made it seem so cool, played it off so cool. So I did think that was cool. Unfortunately, I didn't think Big E and Roman Reigns really matched that well on SummerSlam. I mean, at Survivor Series 2021, and I mean, that match right there, that whole pay-per-view, honestly, was not one of my favorite Survivor Series. And then they were going to do Roman and Brock again at day one, but it got canceled because Roman got suspended. Roman had got the COVID, and yeah, he had got COVID, and as a result, that was the end of that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, what are they going to do from here? And they put the title on on Brock Lesnar, and then they go into that WrestleMania 38 match. Before that, though, we did get Roman Reigns defeating Goldberg clean. It was a short match, Goldberg's last match, but right things to do. I say they corrected what they did, because the last time they were in Saudi Arabia, they had Goldberg go over the Fiend. They did it right this time with Roman Reigns. So that's right. We didn't need Goldberg going over Roman Reigns. The WrestleMania 38 match. WrestleMania 38 was fantastic, but then Roman and Brock, I think that was even shorter. It was just suplex. It was German suplex, and then he ended, and it's like, all right, I think we're done, even though I'm loving the matches, right? And then, like I said, yeah, we got the RKO, bro. It's a shame we couldn't get the Randy Orton Roman Reigns match that year, as it would have been perfect to see how Roman had came from the start of his babyface run to the new heel run, but they had to take Orton out. And then, like I said, yeah, you got some good matches with the Street Profits, but I'll say this year ended strong. We got Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar 7, which everybody's like, oh, we're done here. We're done. Most of us like, we're done. But this is when creative took a whole new turn. Triple H took over, and boy, what a spectacle. What a way to end year number 2 with the forklift and putting up the ring, and Roman's like, oh man, the selling. I wish Roman still would have won clean, but man, what a spectacle of a match that was. You knew something was going to be special when Brock threw the microphone and Roman catch it without even looking at it and winked and stuff like that, and they buried everything on Brock Lesnar, making it feel like it was a big monster movie. Like, that was a great way to see this is what's going to be like when Triple H is in charge. So yeah, man, overall, just reliving all that, like, I think it was a fun, like I said, I think it was a fun year from a storyline perspective, from just the whole act that they were doing. But I think the big matches, they failed to match the glory. So that's my thoughts on year 2. Aaron, I'm going to let you take care of it from here. You too ranked number 2 as your lowest one. So give us your memories of year 2 and why you ended up putting this at the lowest one.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the stream today. I'm enjoying hearing your thoughts on this, bringing back some memories. There were a few things I forgot about. It's a pleasure to be on the stream with you. And Let's talk about the Bloodline, the 4 years. Let me put this out there right now. There were no bad years of the Bloodline. Even the lowest ranked year was still a great year for the Bloodline. And as you mentioned, this was the first year of the Bloodline with the fans, the first full year. You had a little bit in that first year, but this was the first full year with fans. And you brought up all the Roman Reigns matches. It was a year of dominance for him. It was really setting up Roman Reigns as the tribal chief. He was already backing it up in year 1, but year 2, he picked up some of those big wins over Bill Goldberg and Matt Riddle. He had that win over Riddle. A lot of people he went through in 2021 into 2022. The Brock Lesnar feud was entertaining. I think without Roman Reigns in the Bloodline, AEW might have had a real chance to catch up to WWE in popularity, but the Bloodline was so hot, it kept people watching WWE. The Bloodline was, in my opinion, really carrying the company. SmackDown was the show to watch with the Bloodline, and Bloodline segments were often the highlight of the show. Now, I have a lot of positive things to say about that year, and you mentioned some of the great matches. I would say maybe the biggest negative was maybe towards the end, I felt like it was getting a little bit stale. Like they were out there, they were dominating constantly, going through everybody, and it felt like the same thing after a while. But pretty late into 2022, things started to change, and we'll be talking more about this in a few moments, where things definitely started to get more interesting in the Bloodline storyline. I remember people saying around the middle part of 2022, it's starting to lose steam, like they need to do something with the group, and they definitely did. So I think that's maybe the main reason why I would put this year at the bottom of the 4 years. I think, as you mentioned, we both agreed on it, and I'm sure most of the people watching this would probably agree that was the weakest year of the bunch. It was part of the Vince McMahon era, and I think once Triple H took control, things definitely got more interesting, and they were really focusing on more long-term storytelling. They may have already had an idea of where things were heading. I really do believe that from the moment Roman Reigns became a heel and started the Bloodline, that he was eventually going to be a babyface again. I think that was inevitable, and that was probably always their long-term goal. But yeah, this year there were definitely some slow points, but overall still important for really establishing Roman Reigns as the top guy and continuing that dominant run. And just when you thought like he had reached the absolute peak, he beats Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and has 2 titles. He has both of the championships, which just takes him to another level. Then the Usos unify the tag team titles, and they're dominating, and the Bloodline is just on top. But there were definitely more layers to this. You're talking about August as the cutoff, so we didn't have Clash at the Castle yet, so we can't include the addition that came with Clash at the Castle. So we'll be talking about that here in just a little bit. It was a good year for the Bloodline, but I would agree that it was towards the bottom.
Good. Well said, Aaron. Like I said, not bad, but I agree with the matches, and thank you for actually bringing up a point I forgot to say, that towards the end it did feel like the Bloodline needed something to freshen it up, and that's where a certain someone started to peek into the storyline, but we'll get definitely a lot more about that coming in. So that being said, we're gonna move on to